Hello everyone, welcome to Parwaaz video series on planning the next normal. My name is Jawad Khan and I'm the CEO of PSDF and the country head of Parwaaz, the national accelerator on closing the skills gap in Pakistan, set up in partnership with the World Economic Forum. Our guest today is Mr. Ehsan Saya, the Managing Director of Daraz. Ehsan is also a member of Parwaaz's working panel on hospitality and retail services. Welcome to the platform, Ehsan.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ehsan, can we start with a brief introduction on Daraz for our audience?
Of course. So Daraz is actually South Asia's largest e-commerce player, with the exception of obviously in India. And it exists in 5 countries: Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Myanmar. Daraz started in Pakistan, and it's Pakistan and Bangladesh are our 2 biggest markets now. And the unique thing about Daraz is that we are in markets that have over 500 million people. And we got acquired by Alibaba, the Alibaba Group, in 2018. So now we're 100% held by them, and we are their largest player in these countries.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you so much for the introduction. Let me get right into the current situation that we're facing. The COVID-19 pandemic, is creating havoc and devastation across businesses globally, and Pakistani businesses are no different. How has this pandemic impacted the retail industry in general, and especially the online retail?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, and I think in the first days when the pandemic actually hit Pakistan, and it was actually March 10th when we actually closed our offices, thinking that the following Monday we would open them, and that Monday hasn't come yet. So that sort of shows the gravity of how the situation is unfolded in the country. And we saw the first lockdown happening in Pakistan on March 21st. And during this lockdown, obviously everything was shut down, and e-commerce was also actually one of the industries that was under the same umbrella. For the first few days we actually couldn't operate, so we had to completely shut down the business, which was very abnormal for us, that if someone would come to Daraz and not be able to buy anything. So we had to essentially shut down majority of the business, and then over time we started opening up slowly, focusing on essential businesses, what customers wanted. So we launched something called D-Mart, which was really focused on groceries, and then eventually after about 3-4 weeks we opened up essentially the entire business. And I'll walk you through sort of what happened during that time, as well as what is happening right now in the retail market. So in the retail market, naturally, there's been a contraction in spending habits because of the uncertainty, and naturally, nice to haves go before needs. So a lot of things that are part of the retail market that are not necessities are the first ones to sort of go away. And secondly, where that has really taken a big hit is in the physical world, where you really have to go into the markets and you have to go into the stores and go into the malls. When a lot of these malls were closed and a lot of the retail markets are still closed, a lot of sellers are hurting. And they're hurting because customers don't want to come right now and buy. They would much rather sort of say that, okay, I don't really need this purchase, I can wait another few months. A, monetarily, there's a lot of pressure, and B, I don't want to put myself in harm's way. So what that has done for online commerce has been an emergence in a lot of sellers coming online. So one of the things that happened that really helped us was towards about the 1.5 month mark, the federal government proactively went and said, people should participate in e-commerce. And the provincial governments also supported that by enabling sellers who had locations in retail locations that had to be closed to say that, okay, if you want to sell online, you can. That actually, that gave the sense of encouragement to a lot of sellers. And concurrently, what we did as Daraz, and I think this was our move really, because we felt that the SME sector in Pakistan had been hurt significantly. It provides a significant portion of the employment of the non-agricultural employment in this country, and that had deep impacts. If you look at it, where just a company like us had to turn off 22,000 sellers, and that means 22,000 homes did not have the ability to make money. And 22,000 shops were actually, in positions where they had to potentially lay off people. Shops are actually individuals working from their homes. So what we did is we launched something called the Daraz Hum Qadam program, where we told every small medium business that for the months of May and June, you will not have to pay any commissions. We will educate you for free through Daraz University, where we'll teach you how to sell online, how to pack your goods, how to get your goods to our network of hubs, of 50 hubs across the country, and really how to digitize yourself. And I think this was a good move because we saw a large number of sellers coming online and starting to really see the advantages of selling online. One, being evident that when the footfall is dropping in the markets and your customer base is really only the individuals that are coming to the markets, suddenly with online you have 220 million people that can buy from you, and that creates obviously price competitiveness. That also creates quality competitiveness, so you get better quality products, and in the end, both the customer and the seller benefit.
S&D, as we see, lockdowns, complete lockdowns in certain areas, and smart lockdowns in various cities across the country, one would imagine that would be a huge opportunity for online commerce. But at the same time, these lockdowns make it very difficult for players like Daraz to ensure timely deliveries. I'm sure the transportation is having a huge problem on your warehousing business as well. So how are these, there's an opportunity, but also there are challenges. So how are you coping with the opportunity and the challenges at the same time?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, and I think that's a question we juggle with every day actually, because obviously demand has increased significantly, the seller base has increased significantly, but with it, like you said, come a lot of challenges, and namely the biggest challenge is operationally, because obviously when you have less hours that you can operate your hubs and your warehouses, and you obviously want to ensure that you maintain strict SOPs so everyone's safety is maintained, then it becomes crucial that customer experience is still met. And what we've realized is that has actually been quite a challenge, not only for Daraz but across the industry, where due to limited hours where we were allowed to operate our hubs, and due to the limited number of people we could have in a lot of these facilities, we did see a small dip in our ability to get products to customers as quickly, and as well the seller's ability to get products to our hubs. Because obviously, when a seller, just for clarity of the audience, when a seller sells a product, when a customer buys a product from Daraz and a seller has it, let's say in their home or in their warehouse, they need to get it to the Daraz hubs so it enters into a network and goes eventually to the customer. And we have these hubs all across the country, as well as partnerships with players like TCS and LCS. But naturally, when a lot of these hubs are closed and roads were closed, and there were lockdowns, very tight lockdowns in specific areas, it made it difficult for sellers to go and drop off the packages. The way we've been circumventing this is to ensure that we have ample capacity to be able to deal with it. We've also introduced, for a short term, we also introduced pickup capabilities for our sellers. So we would actually go and pick up these products from their locations to make it easier for them to actually be able to operate. And finally, what we did in one of the evident problems that from an operations perspective also happens is the safety of the customers. So immediately when this happened, what we did is to ensure the safety of our customers. Every single location of ours had to be disinfected very regularly. We ensured that every single one of our staffs wore masks, wore gloves. When there was a drop-off happening at the customer's doorstep, they would wipe down the package with an alcohol swab. Even though the WHO had said it's not necessary, but we wanted to make sure that the customers also felt safe, and that really the element of convenience was really brought to their doorstep in this time of need.
Ehsan, what do these the trends that you're seeing currently on online commerce mean for employment and jobs? are there certain roles that have become redundant because of the challenges we talked about? And are some new roles that have emerged based on the opportunities that you've just described?
Yeah, I always think that there's always net new jobs, and the reason I say that is even if some sectors see a decline in employment, that there are other segments that will see a natural increase in employment, and I think we are fortunate in being a technology company and being an e-commerce company that predominantly a lot of many of the jobs we have are in areas that we're continuing to hire. So whether we look at whether it's marketing and performance marketing or offline marketing, whether you look at on the data side, whether you look at on the product side, whether you look at it on the commercial side, on the operations side, we've actually seen that we always have a dramatic need to hire intelligent and hardworking people. Where I would say, having said that, where I would say that there's a natural demand increase is in data and analytics, because those are two areas where, when there is cost optimization and optimization means you have to get very intelligent with where you're spending your money. So when you are in a high growth company, you sometimes grow, you spend blindly in sometimes. But when you grow in an optimal way, you're trying to balance your growth as well as your spend in order to ensure that it's not just, the spend is it's not senseless. So we really think that as we go in more and more into optimization, that the areas where we will continue to see a lot of need is in tech, is in data and automation, because there's a lot of things that you can solve with this automation that you perhaps could not otherwise. So we've actually seen already that the amount of value that these sort of segments have added to Daraz has been significant.
Ehsan, you have also recently become a member of an advisory committee at the Planning Commission. Can you tell us a little bit about what that role is and what are you expected to do?
Yes, of course. So the Planning Commission is obviously one of the main ministries that's responsible for planning the future of Pakistan. And the advisory committee consists of about 10 people that are all from the private sector. And the idea is to really be able to bring the public and private sector together in the policies that are being recommended, and to ensure that the advisory committee can serve as a think tank, so that the policies that are coming from the public sector are actually ones that the private sector sees as ones that will benefit the private sector, which includes things obviously like employment, tax revenues, and of the sort. So we really act as a think tank to ensure in the various sectors that have been identified on how we can improve those segments. So the one that I'm working very closely with is actually education and training, on how can we improve the education and training planning for Pakistan in the future.
That's very interesting. What is your outlook about how the retail and especially retail is going to grow over the next 12 to 18 months? Are you seeing growth? Are you seeing more stabilization? Or are you seeing some kind of retrenchment in certain areas?
Yeah, so I think when we look at the broader retail market, I think I definitely see a contraction, whether it's in 12 months and 18 months. And though I think e-commerce is going to eat a bigger chunk of the retail market, inherently by the retail market shrinking, the growth will not be as fast as it would have been otherwise, if that makes sense. And we've already seen, for example, 20 to 25% growth on our day-to-day sales. But interestingly, we're doing that having spent a fraction on marketing. And the reason that is that more and more customers are buying online because of convenience. And historically, and when I say historically, I mean just maybe 3-4 months ago, customers were buying online because of the price competitiveness, and they would only buy if something was 100% cheaper than it was offline. And I think one of the interesting things has been now that customers are actually saying that even if it's not cheaper, it is more convenient in that it comes right to my doorstep. I can pay with my credit card, my debit card, EasyPass, Jazz Cash, name it, right, or cash on delivery. And so it's been interesting that not only have our sales increased, but we're spending less from a marketing standpoint to get the customers. But finally, the customer, we don't have to subsidize the purchases nearly as much. That means customers are coming not only for the pricing, but also for the convenience, which is actually a very, very positive trend in the industry, because as you would imagine, for any industry to eventually thrive, there has to be an inflection point between subsidizing that industry as well as the inherent USPs of that specific industry.
For sure. But Ehsan, the outlook that you've just shared right now, what does that mean for jobs specifically for the young people that are looking to become part of the online commerce industry in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, and I think, what I love about e-commerce more than anything is the potential it has for job creation. And I think that's what, if there's the one thing that sort of drags me out of bed and keep chasing, it's this element of e-commerce. So I'll give you an example. They did a study in India that anywhere between 3 and 5 jobs are created from one e-commerce seller. So if I look today, we're in a year and a half to 2 years, we've gone from about 3,000 sellers to 22,000 active sellers and significantly more sellers in our database. That means we've easily created 60,000 to 100,000 jobs in the economy, and that is just downstream jobs. So a seller has to, when he sells, he needs to ensure that there's people that are helping him pack the stuff, get stuff from the markets, that are going people that can help him import stuff, people that can actually help, riders that can help get the products to the customers, warehousing staff, etc. So this really, this downstream job creation is significant. But apart from that, what e-commerce also does is really empower people to be able to really start taking control of their ability to make money. And I'll give you an example. There was a 16-year-old kid out of Gujranwala. Last year, I met him, and his father had passed away. And he was contemplating leaving school and starting to do some business so he can actually make money on the side. Instead, someone advised him that, look, why don't you start selling online, and perhaps you can do both. And today he's getting enough money, he's bringing enough money at home that he can run his household while still continuing school. And that is quite impactful, actually, if you think about it, that you've basically allowed an individual to continue getting educated while he's able to handle and do what are his responsibilities and ones that are paramount for him. And I think that's the beautiful thing about e-commerce, and is that we can actually do this at a massive scale in a country where we have one of the youngest populations in the world. And to be honest, I think it's one of the most it's one of the populations that hustles the most. And that is actually something that is, it's if directed in the positive direction, it is quite impactful in the long term.
Ehsan, what are the skills that they must focus on in the next 12 to 18 months to become productive members of the e-commerce workforce?
Yeah. So I think, look, there's 2 parts of it. One, I think, is there's a lot of talk, and there's a lot of, should I do this? Should I not? There's so many platforms now. Whether you have something like Daraz, whether you have Food Panda, whether you have Careem or Baikia or any of those players, the most important thing is to go out and do it. If you're thinking about selling online, go ahead and do it. I mean, today, in very few countries in the world where you're going to have such a low amount of investment to get started. I mean, you can start selling online on Daraz for hardly any money. You have to just pay a little bit of money to buy the packaging, and that's about it. And you have to invest your money. You have to invest your time. And when I say invest your time, you have to go on something like Daraz University and get educated, because we will not allow sellers to sell that provide a poor customer experience. That is just a no-go. And we constantly cut out sellers that provide a poor customer experience, because customers, having a good customer experience is not only good for the business, but it is good for the industry in the long term. So we spend a lot of money and time educating customers. So I would say that get started. And second, put yourself through these free education tools that companies like Daraz have, like Daraz University, where you can start learning from A to Z how to sell online. In fact, recently we did a partnership with KSBL, Karachi School of Business Leadership, where we're offering free MBA courses. where we're saying you can, learn introduction to finance, you can learn inventory management, business ethics, and things that are actually good for you as on a broader business, whether it's online or offline. But apart from that, if I was to say the skill set that you should really start focusing on is, I always think that technical skill sets and hard skill sets over soft skill sets really go a long way. So really knowing how to how to operate Excel, knowing how to not only get data but analyze data and make valuable decisions out of data is super crucial. Spending time to learn how to manage a product, how to build product, how to code. Those sort of skills are technical skill sets are always very, very valuable. Of course, soft skills have their space as well, but technical skill sets generally tend to be a little bit more rewarding when times get tough.
Yeah. Let me now switch focus on your existing workforce. With contractions in business, we're also seeing the training budgets are being squeezed. We're also seeing the challenges of having to make people work from home. So given the two situations, how are you managing the learning and development needs of your existing workforce? Is there a huge component of learning and development that is now going to move online, and is that going to be permanent?
Yeah, and so one of the things that we've done actually in learning and development is, in these times when everyone is working from home, it becomes even more exaggerated, frankly, because you don't have the interactions day to day. You don't have the ability to learn from on job as much. So what we did is we introduced a lot of training and development and learning through digital methods. So we have we've introduced different programs where our employees are able to participate in learning and development. And one of the things that I actually think that Daraz takes pride in is that a lot of the learning and development that we have been able to really take advantage of is training and development that's provided by our parent company, Alibaba. We have so many young kids that are sort of 20, 21 years old that not in these times, but historically would go to and learn from Alibaba and import that knowledge back into the country. And in a company like Daraz, in fact, most tech companies, knowledge and training and development is what is one of our retention methods as well. We need to make sure that we train people to be the best, because it's not only good for your business, it's good for the broader economy, for the industry, and as well eventually for the country, where you have intelligent people learning good things, and whether they stay with you or not, they're able to actually contribute.
Ehsan, one of the other things and that we've seen in many companies is that the pandemic has necessitated the need to try and innovate really, really fast to ensure business continuity. Once the whole pandemic situation is behind us, what are the 2 or 3 innovations that you think are going to become a permanent feature of your business and operating model?
Yeah, I think I can point out 2 very, very clear innovations we did in a very rapid space. One was when we were allowed only to deliver essential goods, we started focusing on a channel called D-Mart, which is really built to be a grocery-focused platform where we not only increased significantly the assortment that we had, but also how that was being delivered to the customer. So we started providing next-day delivery across Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. This resulted in us seeing about a 55 to 60% growth in our grocery business and an 8 to 9x growth in our fresh produce business. The second innovation that we did very rapidly was we said, okay, when people are not able to shop online, one of the trends we saw is gaming, and that there's people that are they're spending a lot of their time playing games online. So we did a partnership with a company called Paytm, and we launched Daraz First Games, which actually now has a significant number of games that actually, when you win, you can actually translate these winnings into being able to purchase on Daraz. And then the idea is to really keep the engagement of the customer, to keep them entertained when times are tough and they're not able to buy. They're actually still coming to your app it becomes a full ecosystem where they're not just coming only for shopping, but they're really coming for shopping and entertainment. It's like if you go to Dolmen Mall, you may take your kids to Dolmen Mall to play at Sinbad while you go shop at Khadi. So it provides you that sort of really a virtual shopping experience rather than just going and logging in whenever you want to buy. And I think those are going to continue, where really we will continue to focus on shoppertainment, where we encourage shopping, but we really become a platform that fulfills the daily needs of our customers, whether that's entertainment or shopping.
Is the grocery business going to become a permanent part of Daraz's offering?
Yes, it is, and that's actually, it's a very different business model, frankly, than what we are used to as well. You cannot do grocery in 3-day delivery time, right? Whereas if you order something from Daraz and you get it in a day or two, you say, okay, well, I got it relatively quickly. But if you order groceries and you get it in 2 days or a day, you kind of, it's not as nearly as fulfilling. So it's also a little bit of innovation that will continue to be required from our end operationally to ensure that it's actually fulfilling the customer's needs.
Ehsan, any recommendations where the industry as a whole can come together and create opportunities for young people to get jobs or to get trained for these e-commerce jobs? You talked about your contribution to the training and education part. Is that something where you see that the industry can contribute as a whole?
Yeah, I think actually, I'll repeat this to some degrees. I think e-commerce, one of the most powerful things within it is the ability to create jobs. What I think that we need to do, not only as Daraz, but as a broader industry, is to make sure that we facilitate this education for the customers, for the sellers. And it's super important to make sure that in e-commerce, it's a very different buying experience than if you were to sell something in your dukaan, because your focus on customer experience has to be super high, where you make sure that one customer you sell to that becomes a customer that buys from you every single week. And to do that, you have to give them a very, very good experience. And I think it's a mindset shift as well for a lot of the sellers, because it's not just a quick buck. It's more of a sustainable business that you build with them. But I think it's the point you make about the need for the industry to come together to really start educating. I think the private sector can do a significant amount. Like I said, Daraz is launched Daraz University, which we're doing. I think other organizations need to do the same so they can actually start getting a lot of these potential sellers or individuals that want to just be able to make money, to be able to participate in the ecosystem. Because where we really thrive is making sure that we build the infrastructure, where all of the companies similar to us that I named before, they all thrive is they really build the infrastructure and ecosystem. And it's super important for customers, for sellers and independent contractors to be able to take advantage of that.
Ehsan, the young people are living through very uncertain and despondent times. They are graduating from universities and colleges without really completing the academic year. They're coming into the job market where there are very, very few jobs to go around. They are low in hope and confidence. What is the one positive message that you will give them that will help to lift their hope and their confidence in the near future?
Yeah, and I feel this it's obviously a very prominent sentiment right now, and it's first of all it's important to recognize that it is okay to have that sentiment as well. Is that these are times, and it is okay to sometimes feel down. It is okay to sometimes feel that things are not perfect. But it is super important to make sure that we bring ourselves to a place where we have a positive view of the future. And what makes me positive about Pakistan is that it's a country with 220 million people. It has one of the youngest populations in the world. It has all the right ingredients to be one of the epicenters of growth, in the future. And if you look at many companies, many big companies have actually emerged out of bad times. I look at even a company like Alibaba. In 2003, this was when the SARS pandemic hit China. Alibaba was very close to bankruptcy, and look at it today, where it's $500 billion company. It's the reason it was able to do that is is the fact that consumer behaviors shift in these times. And it's super important for individuals that are looking to take advantage is to start observing how is consumer behavior shifting and adapting very quickly. You can no longer take a month to build a product. You need to do it in days. You cannot build something that will to test the market in as many days as you could. You cannot have as much data and all the decision points that you may have had before. The idea is to be quick and to evolve and adapt very, very rapidly and to observe the consumer behaviors very, very closely. And we at Daraz as well try to practice this the most because one of our main values is customer commitment. And it's actually, for the actually past few weeks, our management meetings have actually not been an update from every different department. It's been how are you fixing the customer experience? How are you allowing us to be focused on customer commitment? And the idea is that the customer is first, and he or she will make you understand what direction they want to go in. It is very important to observe these behaviors and to observe the direction they're going in and do it. And then whatever action you take, do it very, very quickly. And if you do that, all the other ingredients are there in Pakistan that things will come together. Obviously, there's a lot of infrastructure that is still needed. There's a lot of focus on digital payments that's needed, whether it's whether it's digital payments, whether it's infrastructure, from a logistics standpoint. There's a lot of things that are needed. But having said that, there's a lot of fundamentals that are working in our favor.
As these young people go out in the market and look for jobs, and the turnaround times are going to be long, they might have a lot of time at hand. How should they use that time? What should they learn in this time to really prepare themselves for the future workforce?
Yeah, like I said, I think technical skill sets are ones that are super important in this time. Whether it's you focusing on something like performance marketing, if you're interested in marketing, of course, there's you always need a good understanding of offline marketing, but also having that understanding of how does Facebook marketing work, how does Google marketing work, how do I optimize my acquisition and retargeting spends, how do I really do that? Second, look into whether it's a data space. Data space is also, there's a lot of, in today's day and age, there's an abundance of data and very few people that can take this data and make intelligent decisions out of it. And if you can become someone that can look at an abundant and plethora of data and really be able to transcribe and make a decision out of it, you become immediately valuable. And third is, I would say, really honing in on project management skills, because as companies get more and more optimized and the focus becomes on cost reductions and cost optimization, they will want people that can really do things in a much more optimized way. And being someone who knows how to manage a project in a very lean way will significantly help you become more desirable to these organizations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Ehsan. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure speaking with you. It's been some time, so it was really nice to catch up with you.
Thank you so much. Stay well.
Thank you. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.